Okay, we're back with Rachel in what's called the nursery garden.
This garden is, not a nursery garden in such that we have an actual active nursery. It's a very small scale, the stuff that's been done here before, but it is very whimsical and very much like you think of the book The Secret Garden when you come in here. When I bring kids groups in here, I like to ask them to go and find a blue flower or an orange flower or a spiky plant, or give them a adventure to go and find, because it is very rambling and hard to get around at times.
Oh god, I'll pan around and so everyone can see that. I mean, there's even bananas.
Hey guys, Mia and I are...
So there's lots of really interesting plants in here, and the way it's been managed under a kind of a permaculture principles, and things just come up and grow and all different times of year. So it's kind of surprising to me. I haven't been here that long, so there's always something new to discover and really cool stuff as well. I would hope in the future that this garden is used for kind of sensory horticultural therapy, I suppose, sensory tours. A big gap in the market here in the community outreach that we can provide, I think, is one potential aspect is to people with vision impairment or blindness. I've had interactions with people before where I've personally walked them around the garden, smelling, touching, hearing, doing sensory tours, and I think that would be a really good avenue to go down and connect with that minority group in the future in this garden.
Yep.
So kind of just got stuff spilling out everywhere. We've got roses with jonquils coming up and parsley self-sown. Over here we've got a really interesting, what I've been told is an ornamental pomegranate. Not that good for eating, but I did eat one the other day. It was fine, just not as fleshy, and imagine if you're going to juice it, you wouldn't get too much out of it.
See, it looks pretty...
So I got told it wasn't for, it was just ornamental, but it's kind of, it's still nice.
Yeah.
But look at that beautiful.
Colour's amazing.
Yeah, colour is insane. The bananas, I'm not sure. I can see one flower up there and some small bananas, but they don't get enough water or mulching or organic matter down here. Where I grew up is banana country, and so it is. It's called the Banana Coast.
Oh no, I'm not laughing.
So it would be great to manage these in the future and get some more production out of them. As you can see in here, we've got heaps of buddleias here, which is not my favourite.
And why is that, Rach? Because
they grow rampant really fast, weedy. They don't actually provide any nectar for butterflies. And
but I thought that's what they were. They're famous for...
Yeah, but it's like a fake bee attracting plant because they look, but then they don't. This is what I've been told by when we went down to do the thing in with the Apiary Society.
Right.
Is that they don't actually have the nectaries.
Ah.
Yeah, they attract things in, but then it's kind of like a false.
Oh, okay.
But also, I just don't like their weediness. They can take over.
Yep.
And they kind of look rampant and fall over and snap and overgrow and just outcompete other things.
But I think just having sort of done a very brief review of this garden for my report, I really like your thinking here, just having, whatever you decide in the end, just having a good critical look at this, because my view of this garden was that, it's got a lot of virtues just in terms of being an actual garden, and it's a bit wild and whimsical, like you said, Rach, but it seemed to be isolated and have no real function in the farm.
Exactly. Not engaging with anyone.
Yeah.
So I've tested it out with, we do weekly activities for people, like midweek activities. Mostly it's 4-year-olds or kids on holidays that are travelling here, a lot from Singapore actually.
Oh, wow.
Got this big following, and it must be on a blog or something. Heaps of people come from Singapore. Anyway, but using this space with kids to find flowers and discover or look at insects or do those more adventure tasks rather than a targeted, I'm going to plant this plant or let's water this or put seeds in the ground. It's about running around and finding your way through things and all those things we remember from positive experiences when we're kids.
Well, you could really enhance that more and more, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Have tunnels and...
Exactly. And actually the way Tony's kind of things have kind of grown, and she has a very kind of organic, soft approach to maintenance and lets things discover their own way. So
Right.
there's a lot of these kind of, like this lemon verbena here, it's like this shape you kind of can duck under, and there's a seat next to it, and it's been undercut for many years. Up here, there's kind of like these arches that are made out of plants. This feijoa here that's just fruity now, just dropped off, nice, is actually, when you get in there, even though it looks quite unmaintained, is a perfect playground for climbing. And one of the staff members here who was here as a young farmer just told us today that that was her favourite thing when she was a young farmer, is climbing in underneath these low branches of this really old feijoa.
I'm going to have to take one. I mean, I know that
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can have this one. Then, and you know, as we know, like when the feijoas fall to the ground, that's a sign that they're ready. When
Yeah.
So me trying to harvest the feijoas this week, I got about 3 or 4 kilos, but I was in there and there's blackberry and there's raspberry on the ground, so it was kind of hard to harvest. But you know, it's not a
not quite ready, but good, yeah.
yeah. They need a little bit more ripening.
Sorry
they'll
about the
ripen
munching
quick.
noises, folks.
But you can see this beautiful arch here, and then these winding, meandering paths. Also, there's a lot of tiger snakes in this garden.
But you know, bay trees, which is what this is,
Yeah.
I
Which
always
I
think...
would never plant.
Exactly,
ever,
yeah.
Because of their weedy, suckering habit. Also, no one needs that many bay leaves.
Honestly, I have one that's like pretty badly treated in a terracotta pot, but that's all you need.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just need to have a friend with one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the suckering habit of bay leaves is just an absolute nightmare.
Are these weedy on the north coast? Is that why you know them so badly? Because they are?
No, it's actually from my experience
Yeah.
in horticulture in Melbourne and maintaining
Yeah,
residential
yeah.
gardens.
They're pretty rampant.
Yeah.
What?
What are you doing? What did you say? Oh my god, you guys, it's amazing. Wait, I gotta get a photo. We're doing it.
Some video.
What are you doing?
I don't know. Do we want this on video? I don't think, but this is going in your educational thing.
But why are you dressed up like extras out of Star Wars?
It's a treatment for the goats that's partially toxic. So
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
This is fantastic.
so that was a treat. This is really,
we've made sure we've read
guys. We're about to leave lockdown. Not, you know, you look like you look
Is
a
this how you
bit.
go to the supermarket?
Yeah, this
gotta
is.
stay safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move the sheep.
Well, anyway, so just in case you didn't get that at home, the guys are about to do that 7Me are about to treat the goats with what must be pretty
Life
awful.
is delousing.
Oh, delousing. Oh God. All right. So serious pesticide.
Yeah.
This doesn't go in your educational video.
Goes in my video though.
Not on your Instagram.
No, not Instagram. Whoops. Oh well. Let's
Yeah.
pretend that
Anyway.
never happened.
This part of the garden is actually
Yep.
been selling some small posies a cut. Oh, that's it. Forgot to talk about.
Yep.
So Tony, who's been here for many years,
Yep.
ex-Burnley graduate. This is, you know, her space that she's managed and created over time. One of the main intentions for this garden is to provide flowers for things called Tuzzy Muzzies.
Right.
So small posies of
Let's get it.
small posies of cut flowers that either have a textural element, a really smelly element, and we sell those at the farmers market, and there's volunteers that have been doing that for 20-30 years. The history of Tuzzy Muzzies, I think it's like European. Women used to carry around Tuzzy Muzzies so they didn't have to smell the sewer on the streets, as well as it was used as a form of communication between lovers. So different flowers
Wow,
would mean different things. Like I know yarrow flowers means is a cure for a broken heart, or you know there's this whole language of flowers that comes from.
So Tuzzy Muzzies are also nosegay. Is that what they used to call them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can smell that rather than smelling the horrible smells around.
Yeah, so big sprawling industrial revolution cities, no
Yes.
sewerage, no septic even.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, okay.
So it's a very anyway. But so this garden has a lot of salvias in it. It has a lot of geraniums. There's a really good peppermint geranium in here that I couldn't find in nurseries for ages, but you can actually cook with it. I've made a cake where you layer the rose geranium and peppermint geranium in the cake tin, pour the batter in, cook it. Turns out you've got these beautiful leaves with this.
So, Rach, do you think that with a garden like this, it's kind of, you know, we all have friends or relatives who have gardens that are kind of chaotic and they love them, but they're extremely personal. But because this is an educational facility, it's like in a way just kind of getting in on top of or being a bit more systematic about where things are, what they are.
Yes.
Otherwise, it just becomes a kind of
you're not engaging with enough people. Yeah, so it's really looking at the programming of this garden, and what I've been looking at over the whole site is, you know, the market garden, the orchard, like the fruit trees, the re-veg, the indigenous garden, breaking it all into these different themed gardens and what they're providing. So whether it's like social, economic, environmental, and they each get a score and they each get a value. And on the social level, which is our engagement with people and people facing adversity, if they're lacking in that score system that I'm doing, then it's like, how can we bump that up? And then what maintenance, what design, what program engagement.
Yeah, this is brilliant. So what you're saying is, by economic you mean raising funds for the farm, I presume?
Yeah, so produce sales, Tuzzy Muzzy sales actually bring in the same amount as produce sales at the farmers market.
Remarkable. But by social you mean doing something for the disadvantaged or disabled people?
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like Mia.
Sorry?
Can you go and get from the med shed
Yeah.
a 10 ml syringe?
10 mil syringe and yep.
Is this
Oh.
going on your left? Right?
Yeah.
So this is wormwood here, Artemisia,
Yeah, and no needle.
which used to be used for absinthe. Is that how you say it? A liqueur. And we'll probably finish up the video here, Rach, but just to say, unless you've got more to say.
Yeah, ice cream bean tree. Amazing. It got heavily hit by frost a few years ago, and then it looks like possum damage up there, to be quite honest.
Yeah, that's possum damage.
But these lower branches are doing really well. And I'm not sure, has this ever fruited?
I can't remember whether Tony has ever told me that or not, but I know that I've got a specimen in a pot at Burnley I want to plant out, and it's got this, it's called a vanilla, what's it called, ice cream bean, because
we call it ice cream bean. It was where I grew up. It was planted all around, you know, in this kind of alternate community in the in northern New South Wales, around my high school actually. They didn't have any fences, but it was lined with trees and had ice cream beans planted all around. And so at lunchtime we would go and get the ice cream beans and eat them. So there's this big pod with pith and these big seeds, and you take the seeds out, and the pith, which is white, tastes like vanilla ice cream. Delicious.
Remarkable. I've never had it.
Yeah.
So, all right, I was going to film walking through the bay trees, and then I'll turn off the video. Thanks, Rach. We'll go to the Indigenous garden next, I think.
Yeah.